I was reading this article the other day, and it was saying how scientists are discovering entirely new types of immune cells, and honestly, it just blew my mind. It really made me think about how much we just take our body's defenses for granted. So today we are diving deep, deep into the world of the lymphatic system. Like it really is the silent guardian of our health. And don't worry, you don't have to like dust off those old biology textbooks or anything like that. We've got you covered. Our source material today is super cool. It's actually a series of lectures from a 2024 immunology course at the University of Abu Bakr Belkaid in Clemson. So we are going to unpack some of the key takeaways from those lectures and kind of translate the science AB bits into something that, we can all wrap our heads around. Get ready because your own biology is about to blow your mind.
Yeah. What always gets me about the lymphatic system is just like, how organized it is. It's really like a perfectly synchronized orchestra where each instrument, in this case, each organ is playing this absolutely vital role.
Ooh, I love that analogy. And speaking of instruments, or should I say organs, let's talk about those lymphoid organs. Our source material calls them specialized military bases, which I think is incredibly helpful for picturing it.
Right. And just like a military, you have, your training grounds and you have your battlefields. We call these the primary and secondary lymphoid organs.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Primary lymphoid organs, those are like the boot camps, right?
Precisely. This is where immune cells are, well, they're born, and then they're trained for their very specific missions. We're talking bone marrow and the thymus.
Bone marrow. Okay, so that's the stuff inside our bones, right? I vaguely remember that from high school biology.
Yeah, it's so much more than just stuff. Bone marrow it's absolutely vital. It's the birthplace of all blood cells. So not just the immune cells, but think red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. It's constantly churning these cells out. It's essential for life itself.
Wow, so it's not even just about immunity then, it's about keeping our entire circulatory system up and running. That's incredible. Okay, so we've got this bustling factory of cells in our bones, but they'd be pretty useless without proper training, right? And that's where the thymus comes in.
Exactly. The thymus is like the elite training academy specifically for T cells, a very important type of white blood cell.
Okay, hold on, T cells. Can we like break that down a little bit? What are T cells and why do they need like specialized training?
Yeah, so imagine this. T cells are kind of like the body's special forces, right?
Yeah.
They're trained to identify and then eliminate specific threats. But, and this is important, they have to be able to tell the difference between the body's own cells and those foreign invaders.
Oh, right. Otherwise they'd end up attacking healthy tissues, which would be not good.
Yeah, that would be disastrous. So the thymus is there to make sure that only the T cells that can tell friend from foe make it out into the rest of the body.
So it's like quality control for our immune system. That's fascinating. And you know what I find super interesting? The source material mentions that the thymus is actually the largest during puberty and then it kind of shrinks as we age. What's the deal with that?
Well, it's all about adaptation, really. When we're young, our immune systems are constantly encountering new pathogens, new things they've never seen before. And so they're building up this memory bank of all the different threats out there.
Mm-hmm.
As we age, that memory bank is pretty extensive, so the thymus naturally shrinks a bit.
That makes sense. So we've got our bone marrow churning out cells, the thymus training those elite T cells. What about B cells? Where do they fit into all of this?
The B cells, those clever cells actually mature in the bone marrow itself. But they are equally crucial. Think of them like the weapons manufacturers. They produce antibodies.
Antibodies, right. So those are the targeted missiles that can take out specific invaders. Okay, so the B cells are like our own internal pharmacy, just cooking up these custom-made defenses. I love how our immune system has specialized units for every stage of defense. It's amazing. So we've talked boot camps, but what about the battlefields? That's where those secondary lymphoid organs come in, right?
You got it. And when it comes to secondary lymphoid organs, lymph nodes are the real MVPs. Hundreds of these tiny bean-shaped organs kind of strategically stationed all throughout your body.
Lymph nodes, those are the things that get all swollen when we're sick, right? Like little warning bells that something is going on.
Exactly. You can almost think of them as checkpoints, right? Along the lymphatic system's vast network of vessels, so lymph fluid, which carries waste products and immune cells, flows through these nodes, and they act as incredibly fine filters, trapping any suspicious particles.
Okay, so let's say like a rogue virus decides to take a little joyride through my lymphatic system. What happens inside that lymph node to stop it in its tracks?
Well, that's where things get really incredible because lymph nodes, they aren't just passive filters. They're intricately designed to optimize immune response. They have this outer cortex that's packed with B cells just waiting to spring into action. Think of it like a well-armed security checkpoint.
Okay, so I'm visualizing this security checkpoint, B cells at the ready. What happens when they encounter like that rogue virus we were talking about? Is it like some microscopic version of stop and identify yourself?
In a way, yes. When a B cell encounters a matching antigen, which is kind of like, a unique identifier on that virus, it triggers this cascade of events. The B cell is activated, it multiplies, and starts producing antibodies. Those antibodies are specifically tailored to neutralize that virus.
So the B cell sees the virus's ID, calls for backup, and then starts churning out the perfect weapon to take it down. Incredible. Lymph nodes are sounding more and more like these high security facilities.
They are incredibly efficient. Yeah. But lymph nodes are just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to those secondary lymphoid organs.
Oh, there's more. Don't leave me hanging. What other fascinating organs are we about to uncover in this immune system adventure? Tell me everything.
Get ready, because we're about to explore an organ that's often misunderstood, the spleen.
The spleen, isn't that the one that always gets targeted in those martial arts movies? What's its real claim to fame in the immune system?
It's true, the spleen gets a lot of attention in those fight scenes, but its role in real life is, well, it's far more fascinating. It's actually like a dual-purpose organ, working hard both in the lymphatic system A and D as a key player in filtering your blood.
Filtering blood and fighting off invaders. Okay, talk about multitasking. How does it manage to do both those jobs?
Okay, so think of it this way. The spleen is kind of divided into two main areas, each with its own specialty. You have the red pulp, which is like a recycling center where old or damaged red blood cells are broken down and their components are reused.
Okay.
And then you have the white pulp, and that's where all the immune system action really heats up.
Red pulp, white pulp. It's like a healthy fruit salad in there. So the white pulp is like the immune system headquarters inside the spleen.
Exactly. The white pulp is packed with lymphocytes, those amazing cells we talked about earlier, T cells, B cells, all ready to neutralize any threats that come their way.
So it's similar to what happens in the lymph nodes then. If an immune cell in the spleen spots an enemy, it triggers that full-on defense response.
You got it. It's like a chain reaction. A B cell might say, encounter a virus, recognize its antigen, and then bam, starts producing those targeted antibodies to take it out. Meanwhile, the T cells are on patrol, ready to just destroy any cells that have already been infected.
It's amazing how our bodies just have these intricate defense mechanisms in place. It's incredible. So, okay, we've covered the bone marrow, the thymus, lymph nodes, the spleen, all these incredible organs working together. Is there anything else we're missing in this immune system tour? What else is there?
We can't forget about the vast network of lymphoid tissues that are, strategically positioned throughout the mucous membranes of your body. We call this MALT, short for mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue.
MALT. Okay, that sounds oddly familiar, like something I might have heard in a health food store. What exactly are mucous membranes again?
So think about the linings of your nose, throat, lungs, even your digestive system. Those are all mucous membranes, and they act as this crucial barrier between your internal environment and, the outside world.
Right. And those are all areas that are constantly exposed to stuff, right? Like things we breathe in, swallow, you name it. So MALT is it's like having immune cells stationed at all the entry points ready to intercept those potential threats.
Precisely. And here's what makes MALT even more impressive. Its sheer size. Our source material mentions that it covers a surface area larger than a basketball court. Talk about frontline defense.
Wow. That's huge. It really highlights how important it is to protect those vulnerable entry points. And speaking of vulnerable entry points, our digestive system, it processes everything we eat and drink. It seems like it would need its own specialized immune defense force, right?
You're way ahead of me, and you're absolutely right. The gut has its own branch of MALT called GALT. GALT stands for gut-associated lymphoid tissue.
GALT. Okay, I'm starting to see a theme with these names. So what makes GALT so important? Is it just about fighting off food poisoning, or is there more to it than that?
Oh, it's about so much more than just a dodgy takeaway, I promise. You see, our gut is home to trillions of bacteria. Good bacteria, bad bacteria, they're all in there. And GALT's job is to kind of like maintain that healthy balance. So preventing the harmful bacteria from, running rampant while still allowing those beneficial microbes to thrive.
Wow, so it's like a delicate ecosystem in there, huh?
Hmm.
And GALT is like the peacekeeping force, making sure everything runs smoothly. But how does it actually work, though? Does it have like its own set of lymph nodes or like mini spleens tucked away in the gut lining?
It's not quite as simple as having miniature organs, but it's equally fascinating, I promise. GALT actually has what we call a two-compartment system. There's the inducer compartment and the effector compartment.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Break that down for me. Inducer kind of makes me think of like detectives, right? Is that where GALT is gathering intel?
Ooh, I like that analogy. You're
Yeah.
spot on. The inducer compartment is where these specialized cells will actually capture samples of the gut contents, anything you've eaten, for example, and they present those samples to the immune cells for analysis. So yeah, it's like GALT's intelligence agency constantly monitoring what's coming in.
Fascinating. So if the inducer compartment detects a threat, then what? That's where the effector compartment comes into play, right?
You're getting it. The effector compartment is where the action happens. This is where you'll find a whole army of immune cells, all primed and ready to neutralize any threats that made it past those initial defenses.
It's like GALT has its own chain of command.
Yeah,
From intelligence gathering to like rapid response units, incredible. We've covered so much ground today exploring, the intricate workings of the lymphatic system, from the bone marrow to the thymus, lymph nodes, the spleen, and now GALT. It's amazing how it all just works together seamlessly to keep us healthy.
it really is a testament to the incredible complexity and efficiency of, the human body. And what's even more
What's
fascinating?
that? What's that?
We often think of our immune system as this isolated fortress, right?
Mm.
But it's really not. It's in constant communication with other systems in our bodies, like the nervous system, even the gut microbiome we were just talking about.
Whoa. So it's like our immune system isn't just reacting to threats, it's like constantly gathering intelligence and adapting its strategies based on what's happening everywhere, both inside and outside the body.
Precisely. It's this dynamic network that's, constantly learning and evolving. And honestly, the more we understand these intricate connections, the better equipped we are to actually support its function.
Okay, I love that. But before we get completely lost in the complexities of like immune system espionage, let's just take a moment to recap this incredible journey we've been on today. So we started with the bone marrow. That's the birthplace of all those essential blood cells, including our immune system's like key players, right?
Right. And then we ventured into the thymus, that remarkable organ that's responsible for training those elite T cells, making sure they can tell the difference between friend and foe, which is crucial for, preventing those autoimmune diseases.
Yes. And who could forget those strategically placed lymph nodes, diligently filtering our lymph fluid, acting like these miniature command centers that coordinate those immune responses all throughout the body.
Oh, and let's not forget about the spleen, working tirelessly to filter our blood and house this powerful army of immune cells in its white pulp.
And then finally, we dove deep, deep into the world of MALT, that vast network of lymphoid tissue that's guarding our mucous membranes, with GALT playing this absolutely vital role in keeping our gut microbiome in check. So much amazing stuff going on behind the scenes that, like, we never even think about.
It really is. It makes you appreciate the intricate workings of our bodies in a whole new way. And it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it, this complex network
Yeah.
operating 24/7 without us even realizing it,
Yeah.
just keeping us healthy.
Absolutely. So knowing all of this now, what can we actually do to support this incredible system? And that's like, you've given us this backstage pass to the most amazing show ever, and now I want to make sure that like the performers are healthy and the show can go on.
I love that analogy. And, while we didn't really get into specific immune boosting strategies today, there are definitely things we can do to support our body's natural defenses. Simple things like, eating a balanced diet, getting enough sleep,
Mm.
managing stress, even just spending time in nature. These all play a role in keeping our immune systems functioning at their best.
It's like we often go searching for that magic pill or that like, supplement, when really it's about those everyday choices, those things that lay a really strong foundation for overall health.
Exactly. It's about taking this kind of, holistic approach,
Yeah.
recognizing that like everything is connected and everything influences our well-being.
I am definitely feeling inspired to like prioritize those healthy habits. Well, on that note of interconnectedness and like newfound appreciation for our incredible immune systems, we are going to wrap up this deep dive for today.
Yes. But if you're curious to learn more about any of the organs or processes that, we talked about today,
Definitely.
be sure to check out the show notes. We'll have some links to further reading there. There's always something new to discover.
And in the meantime, just take a moment to thank those unsung heroes, right? Your amazing lymphatic system working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep you healthy. Until next time.